Before you go, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below and let's see how far this story has reached. Every voice matters, and your thoughts make our storytelling community stronger. If this story touched you or reminded you of someone from your past, share it below. I read every comment. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's chapter brings an even deeper twist you won't want to miss. Same time, same place. I'll be here, waiting to tell it to you. I was 18 when I first realized I liked Jordan. It wasn't some dramatic moment or grand confession. It was subtle, the kind of feeling that slowly blooms in the quiet corners of your heart. Jordan was smart, focused, and impossibly disciplined. The kind of guy who aced every calculus exam and never raised his voice in class. He wasn't loud or flashy, just calm, serious, and always a little out of reach. And maybe that's what drew me in. My name is Madison. I'm the daughter of a tech investor. People assume my life is easy. Private driver, custom lunches, even a scholarship wing at the school named after my father. But none of that ever helped when it came to Jordan. For 2 years, I quietly sat beside him, joined clubs he was in, and even brought him coffee during late study nights. I never confessed, never even hinted that I liked him. I just wanted to be close. And for a while, that felt enough. At first, he didn't seem to mind. We'd talk about physics or English essays. Sometimes when I fell behind during gym class, he'd slow down and run next to me, urging me forward. Once, when I was reading a novel under the desk during class, he covered for me when the teacher walked by. I thought, maybe this meant something. But then the distance started growing. Subtle at first. His responses got shorter, his eyes colder. I thought I was imagining things, until that day by the clubroom door. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I had gone back to grab my bag but stopped when I heard my name. Jordan, why even bother studying so hard? Madison likes you, you know. She's rich. She donated an entire building. If you dated her, you'd never have to work again. There was laughter. Then silence. And then his voice. Quiet, cold, and sharp enough to break me. I hate her. I'd rather work 80 hours a week for the rest of my life than take her charity. The laughter that followed was cruel, loud and echoing. I stood frozen just outside the door, heart pounding, eyes burning. I didn't cry. Not then. I just turned, walked away, and told myself to let go. That night, I changed my seat, 6 rows, away by the hallway window. I stopped joining the clubs he was in. I stopped bringing coffee. I stopped hoping. For 2 years, I had tried to get close, believing that maybe, just maybe, I could mean something to him. But after hearing those words, I finally understood. Jordan didn't want me near, so I gave him what he wanted: distance. After I moved seats and stepped away from Jordan's world, I told myself I'd be fine. That giving up on him was a sign of maturity, of strength. But truthfully, I felt hollow. Days passed like static. Class, homework, repeat. I kept my head down, buried in textbooks, pretending I didn't notice how empty it felt, not sitting beside him anymore. I tried not to glance his way. I tried not to wonder if he noticed I was gone. And then, out of nowhere, Tyler came back. Tyler Evans, my childhood friend. The boy who used to wait for me outside my house every morning, holding my backpack with one hand and a juice box in the other. We'd lost touch after his family moved to New York 5 years ago, but now, suddenly, he was standing in front of my classroom in a crisp white button-down, taller, sharper, but still wearing that same boyish smile. Madison, he said like no time had passed. I blinked, stunned. Tyler? He chuckled, pulling me into a half-hug. Told you I'd come back. From that day on, everything shifted. Tyler became my daily ride to school, my lunchtime companion, my after-class escape. We'd joke in the hallway, share snacks, trade childhood stories no one else knew. The other students noticed, of course. Whispers followed us like shadows. Is that Madison's boyfriend? They look cute together. She finally moved on from Jordan. That last one stung. Because even if I'd walked away from Jordan physically, emotionally, I wasn't. So sure, but Jordan noticed. Oh, he definitely noticed. The first time Tyler showed up to walk me home, Jordan was standing by the lockers. He didn't say a word, didn't even flinch. But the look in his eyes, it was ice cold. And then he turned his back. From that point on, it was like a quiet war. I'd laugh a little louder when Tyler made a dumb joke. Jordan would stare a little longer, his brows drawn tight. When I passed him in the hallway, he stopped looking through me and started looking at me. Not warmly, not kindly, but with a sharpness that felt personal. And still, he never said a word. But actions? They screamed louder than silence ever could. He broke his pen in class the day someone called Tyler Madison's perfect match. Blue ink exploded across his palm like a crime scene. The tension in the room was suffocating. Then, without looking at me, he stood up and coldly said, "Can you all gossip somewhere else?" I lowered my head, ashamed. "Sorry," I mumbled. He stared at me then, like he didn't expect an apology. His expression softened, just for a second. But I couldn't hold on to moments anymore. Tyler was real, present, safe. Jordan? He was the storm I had already survived once, and I wasn't sure I had the strength to survive him again. The whispers didn't stop, but I learned to tune them out. Every day, Tyler was by my side, steady, reliable, and warm. He never asked for more than I could give, never pushed for answers about the past, never questioned the tension that still hung in the air whenever Jordan walked by. He simply showed up. And yet, Jordan never truly disappeared. He was still there, 6 rows away, always in my peripheral vision. He didn't speak to me, but he watched. That unreadable stare, that tight-lipped silence, that strange, aching presence I couldn't quite ignore. Then came the math test. I'd bombed it, worse than usual. I didn't even want to look at my score when Jordan walked up the aisle to pass the graded papers. My hand froze when he stopped beside me. He didn't just drop the paper and move on. He hesitated, just for a second. Then laid it gently on my desk. "You're planning to get into college with scores like that?" he muttered, barely loud enough to hear. I stiffened, my face heating with embarrassment. I looked up at him, and for the first time in weeks, I snapped. "What does it matter? To you?" I fired back. "Who I am, what I score, how I live. It has nothing to do with you, Jordan." He stared at me, his jaw clenched, his knuckles white around the papers he still held. "Your dad paid for my mother's surgery, covered my tuition, and now I'm supposed to pretend like nothing happened? So this is about guilt?" I scoffed. "You hate me for something I never used against you?" He didn't respond. He just walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way he looked at me, the way his words felt more like self-loathing than blame, the way my chest ached even after I told myself I didn't care anymore. At breakfast, I sat across from my dad, pushing scrambled eggs around on my plate. He looked up from his tablet. "You've been quiet lately," I swallowed. "Dad, what if I wanted to study abroad?" He raised a brow, then smiled slowly. "You've been thinking about this?" I nodded. "I need space, a change. I want to learn to stand on my own." His smile faded a little, replaced by a look I couldn't name. Pride, maybe, or worry. "You're sure?" he asked softly. "I'm sure." And just like that, the gears started turning. Within weeks, applications were filed, interviews were scheduled. Tyler supported my decision without question. Jordan didn't say a word. Not even when I started disappearing from class more often, heading to the counselor's office for paperwork or recommendation letters. But the silence was louder than ever. Sometimes I imagined just leaving. No goodbyes, no explanations, just gone. Let him find out from someone else. Let him wonder. But deep down, I knew I couldn't do that. Not to him. Not after everything. Even if he'd never admit it. So, the night before my flight, I made a decision. I was going to say goodbye, whether he liked it or not. Or, the night before I left, I walked the halls of our school one last time. The air was thick with memories, hallway jokes, group projects, stolen glances. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Closure, maybe, or courage. Either way, I found myself standing outside the old classroom where Jordan and I used to sit side by side. I peeked in, heart pounding. He wasn't alone. Signy was with him, the new transfer student, the one everyone said was Jordan's intellectual equal. They stood at the blackboard, chalk in hand, arguing over some math proof with synchronized intensity. Then, Signy slipped, her foot catching the edge of a bag. Without hesitation, Jordan reached out, steadying her. His hand on her arm, their faces close. I froze, watching from the hallway, heart sinking. They looked right together. Comfortable. Natural. Like I'd never existed. I turned and left quietly, my goodbye dissolving on my tongue. And just like that, I was gone. No calls, no letters. I built a new life, 2,500 miles away in Boston. At first, it was just school and survival. I worked part-time, learned to cook, failed miserably, and got better. Over time, I found something I loved: art. I launched a small investment startup focused on emerging artists, and somehow it worked. By the time I was 23, I was fully independent. No more allowances, no more shadows. I didn't think about Jordan, not really. Maybe sometimes, when a certain song came on, or when someone solved a math problem like he used to. But not in a way that hurt, until the day I saw him again. I had just gotten back to California for a short visit. My dad had invited a guest over to discuss a land deal, some high-profile tech entrepreneur. I didn't think twice. Until the butler opened the door, and Jordan walked in. He'd changed, taller, sharper. His once boyish face now carved with quiet confidence. Gone was the guarded, bitter teen I remembered. In his place stood a man who knew exactly who he was. Our eyes met, and for a split second, the world stopped. "Long time no see," I said, smiling politely. He didn't answer right away, just stared, as if seeing a ghost. Eventually, we sat down over dinner. My dad excused himself, and it was just the two of us. We didn't talk about the past. Not yet. Instead, we talked business. Contracts, land values, tax zones. But his eyes never stopped watching me. He twirled noodles on his fork just like he used to. And when I glanced down at my plate, he instinctively slid a peeled pistachio toward me, like muscle memory. And for a moment, just a flicker of time, I felt 17 again. I wanted to ask, why didn't you say goodbye that day? But instead, I said nothing because part of me already knew the answer. He didn't know how. Just like I didn't know how to stay. After that night, Jordan started showing up more often. At first, it was always business-related, meetings with my dad, project updates, land contracts. But gradually, the lines blurred. He began texting me, quick notes, articles he thought I'd like, even gym selfies with sarcastic captions like, "Still allergic to cardio?" He wasn't the same boy I'd walked away from. He'd become more open, more intentional, like he wasn't willing to let time slip through his fingers again. And I didn't know what to do with that. We fell into a rhythm. A strange one, sure, but real. I'd reply to his messages. Sometimes I'd beat him to it, sending him photos of gallery openings, art pieces, random thoughts. He always replied fast. And if he didn't, he'd apologize. Every time. "You don't owe me that," I once told him. "I do," he replied. "More than you think." One night, he invited me to a casual dinner with a few of his close friends. I didn't plan to go, but curiosity got the best of me. His apartment was sleek but lived in, scattered with signs of someone who never stopped working. On one wall, I noticed a photo. It was a snapshot in front of my old university. I stared. "That was sophomore year," Signy said, suddenly beside me. "He flew there, said he had business, But I think we both know he went looking for you." My heart stopped. "He never found you," she added quietly. "When he came back, he was different, distant, like something he'd been chasing had slipped through his hands." I couldn't speak. I didn't even know how to breathe. All this time, I thought he never cared. I thought I was chasing someone who only wanted to get away. But he'd been chasing too, just in silence. Later that night, he found me standing on the balcony, staring at the skyline. "You disappeared," he said softly. I turned to him. "So did you." "I was angry," he admitted, "at myself, at you, at the world. I didn't know how to deal with it, so I shut you out. That wasn't fair." "No," I said, voice steady. "It wasn't." He nodded, accepting the weight of it. "But I never hated you," he added. "Not even close." There it was. The thing I'd waited years to hear, delivered without fanfare, just truth. Simple and heavy and real. I didn't answer right away. I just leaned on the balcony rail, staring at the city lights, and then I said, "We were kids. We both had growing up to do." He stepped closer, not touching, just near. "Do you think we've grown enough?" I smiled, small and bittersweet. "I think we're still growing." We stood in silence, letting the night breathe between us. No promises, no declarations, just understanding, and maybe that was enough for now. Because love doesn't always come crashing in like thunder. Sometimes it returns in quiet footsteps and asks for a second chance. What would you have done if you were in Madison's shoes? Have you ever walked away from someone you cared about only to find out years later that the feelings were mutual all along? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your story, your regrets, or even your happy endings. Whether you're watching from a big city or a quiet town, we're all connected through stories like this. Real, emotional, and raw. Let us know where you're tuning in from, your city, your country, or even just your favorite time to watch these stories. It helps us feel closer to our growing storytelling family, and if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. We're sharing a new emotional chapter tomorrow, and trust me, it's one you won't want to miss. There's heartbreak, healing, and a twist that might just surprise you. Thanks for being here. We see you, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to read what you have to say below.